Hey, welcome back to Super... Oh, wait. Bring. Sorry, Mr. Miyamoto-san? Oh, yeah, definitely. I will direct all of the Mario Brothers from this point on. Sorry about that, guys. I just had a really cool conversation with somebody, some big news rolling around. I don't want to tell the viewers yet at home.
At what point did you decide to do that? Because obviously we didn't know about that beforehand.
Yeah, of course, who would know? I just got...
You're writing a script.
I've got this idea. I'm not going to tell them.
I just got this cool phone call. Sorry that you guys didn't hear my phone ring and then me talking. It was a really short conversation. Anyways, we are back. We are video game news about podcasts, and we talk about podcasts all day, every day.
And this is your video games.
We're a video game news about podcasts, and we're on a video game console near you. So I'm Brank, professor, and
I'm only interested in pod news, actually. POD news.
POD. We are a Youth of a Nation.
Yes.
Our fan site. And what is your...
Call it PODcast.
What's your gamer cast?
My gamer cast.
Your name.
My name.
Your gamer tag.
Jank.
Jank? Okay, so Brank, Jank.
I'm Brian.
You should have been Stank,
also,
you dumbass.
Also Donna.
Donna? Okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I was a kid, my dad, he introduced me to Legend of Zelda, and he used to love to make 3 files and name them Link, Wink, and Stink.
Which is how you should make all 3 files.
And I think of it every time.
I'm going to make all these 3 files. Anyways, so we've been gone for a little bit. Have we been playing games? You been playing anything, old Donna?
I'm almost done with Dragon Age Inquisition.
Never gonna finish this!
I haven't really played a lot of games the last couple of weeks, if I'm being totally honest.
That's a lie. We're going to cut that out.
Yeah, I've been playing mostly that when I have a minute. I played... What did I play? I turned on my Vita, which is, again...
How does it exist?
such a fantastic device.
That never gets games.
It would be amazing if there was no PlayStation 4 and just a Vita, and that was where they focused for a few years, because
it would be
still
cool.
have zero interest in a PlayStation 4, but I just want to play everything on Vita.
Wait, real quick, to edit on that, I would agree with you, but I think that PlayStation 4 should also just be the Nintendo Switch, and every console should just be the Nintendo Switch, and then they're all, hey, I want to take this on the go, and then we're good.
If
Nintendo
owned every console, we would never be able to buy them.
Sony would only make a console and portable combination if Microsoft had the idea and then everyone hated it.
Yeah.
Because then Sony could do it and get worshipped for it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, they're for the gamer, by the gamer.
Yeah.
So we've been playing on Vita.
But I haven't actually played anything except for Adventure Time. I forget which Adventure Time game it is. It's newer.
Probably Cursed Ice King Castle or whatever they're called. I know they got...
I forget. No, I'm a huge fan of the show Adventure Time. And this game plays like a Zelda, so top down.
A couple, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
that?
not the Explore the Dungeon because I don't know why.
I've heard that one's not very good.
Yeah, I wish they were all amazing because it's such a fun universe. Like it's the coolest and it's hilarious. This game so far is pretty fully voice acted, so that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But it was 99 cents on the PlayStation Store.
Adult Swim?
Yeah, and
Adult Swim's been
or
good.
Cartoon Network.
Okay.
We're the same. But I bought it while I was waiting for Salt and Sanctuary to download.
Yeah, Salt and Sanctuary look
But
cool.
I haven't started that yet. I don't know if I've played anything else recently besides a little
Did you
Dragon
beat
Age.
Mario 3D World? So I got to bring up the hot games that are recent.
Yeah, recent hot games.
Mario 3D World, Dragon Age Inquisition, Salt and Sanctuary.
I haven't played it in a few weeks.
I've been wanting to play like Mario Galaxies recently, but I'm one of those people now who sell my old consoles to get new ones. I now have no way to play it, and I've just been thinking, man, I want to release these.
That's why I don't do that.
Well, you need to. Well, what are you gonna do though? Like, I don't want to keep plugging them up to the TV to play them. Like,
Wait. As somebody who does not play Nintendo products,
At all?
At all.
You haven't owned a Wii or Wii U? Or...
I owned a Wii for like 2 months, and then
Sold it?
I got to the point where I was like, this whole having to move around while playing video games is not working for
Most
me.
of the games, though, you don't even do that. Like, even Mario Galaxy, you just use, like, the little controller.
See, I didn't keep it long enough to play those games.
Wow, man. That
But-
Wii was actually kind
Okay,
of
so
great
tell me
games.
this, though. Like, is anything on Nintendo backwards compatible?
Wii and Wii U games are backwards compatible.
Okay.
Yeah, and all of their portables used to be backwards compatible with the previous generation.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And I think, wasn't it the first 3DS was also portable with Advance, or was that just DS?
I think just DS.
Oh, okay, because that would have been cool.
Yeah, there's usually backwards compatibility for Nintendo systems, at least of some kind.
Maybe they need to get better. About
Switch, not for Switch, actually.
Yeah.
Switch is like the first time that there's 0, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's-
GameCube.
What
Because
do you
GameCube was disc-based. So there's like,
Oh yeah, GameCube was disc-based. Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo.
But
Yeah,
the
but
GameCube,
recent.
the Wii was backwards compatible with GameCube. You could throw in GameCube games.
Well, that's where they started backwards compatibility. Before
Yeah.
that,
But wasn't
it was
the
all
GameCube
just
disc?
keep buying
Well,
new
no,
ones.
because
With
with
the
Game
GameCube-
Boy, like with all the Game Boy.
No, but I mean
iterations,
the
yeah.
consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64. Every time you just buy the system.
Weren't the GameCube discs like this big?
They were
Yeah, but
awesome.
they weren't square like that.
They were.
I mean,
So these square discs that you got.
like this with the little point down at the bottom.
Did you get a chance to play Numenera at all? Since we haven't done this for a couple weeks.
No,
I've been thinking about
or
that,
no,
actually.
no. I think I have actually. I downloaded an update for it, and I continued on my merry way, questing through Sage's Cliffs. I'm almost done with the first main area. I think there's 3 areas. So
And like total in the game.
yeah,
I want to get back into that. I actually want to get on console. I know that's probably not the preferred way to play it, but I want to get on console because I know they patched it. But I want to get it like when it's way lower price, like probably
yeah.
$20.
It'll be.
I understand PC is the way to play it. I just have a hard time sitting at my computer. I have to buy a new chair for that, but it's like just really like not a comfortable way.
Just
to
find a chair on the street like I did.
Yeah, that's how you know you're getting a good chair. If you
Hey.
find, there's a chair on the street. I'll take
That
it.
chair that I found on the street is a really nice chair for finding it on the street.
One of the curb
Yeah.
ones, curbside.
Yeah, it was like it had free tape to it, but it was probably like I
Someone
always
was murdered
forget,
in
like
it.
desk chairs are like really expensive.
They are,
It's
yeah.
probably like
Craigslist
$1,000 chair easily. It's like
It's not maybe not $1,000.
dude. When I
probably
looked
a
at
couple
desk
hundred.
chairs, like ones that looked like that were like $1,500.
Desk chairs are stupidly expensive.
Yes,
though. Like
stupidly
I
expensive.
don't get it. Yeah, I don't know.
Why is that?
I don't know. I went to
Probably
mine's
because-
broken. I looked up for a new one, and it's like
Yeah, probably because they're not made like. They're made probably less with the individual consumer in mind and more for like corporate budgets. Like,
Yeah.
they're replacing like chairs for the office or something.
these
It's
people
like-
have exposable income. Let's charge them $1 million.
there we go.
Did you say exposable income?
Yeah, exposable. People can see them
We know.
and grab it.
We know your secret.
They've seen their income.
My income is fully exposed.
So, Jank, what you been playing?
I have been playing Uncharted, the collection.
Oh, God.
I don't know. I just got bored and I went back and played it because
That sounds boring.
You
It
just
sounds
got
like
bored and you wanted to get more bored.
I'd rather play some really old games that don't like stand up on their own anymore. Like they did not, age well.
I own it, so I figured why not play it.
I own it too because it came free with the PS4. Like it's not like something I'm gonna like. Oh, let me spend some time.
Yeah.
What else
but-
have you been playing?
And I played Arrow. It's like a rhythm based flight game.
Arrow pays for us, by the way. No, I'm just joking. No, Arrow
And
rhythm based.
It was actually a lot of fun. I'm not into like it. You had this line that your ship flies around,
Okay.
and then you had to match it with the beats of like the dubstep music. So,
Well, I mean, that's our favorite style of music is
That's all I
dubstep.
listen to.
I wish you were a DJ on this Arrow as well. And I use the DJ Hero control.
and I dabbled a little bit in Final Fantasy Dimensions, which is something I wanted to talk to Eric about. Donna.
Donna.
Oh yeah.
You're just going to bleep that
Yeah.
first one out. Want to talk about.
What is your opinion on that?
Dimensions is the only Final Fantasy mobile game worth playing, I think.
Wait, what about the 3D one? That one looked really cool.
3D one.
Yeah, they released a Mobius, I think it's called.
Dude, that one's supposed to be terrible.
That's
Really?
like
It
the card,
looked cool,
that's like the
though,
card
like-
game one.
yeah,
right?
it's the card one.
No. Exodius? What is it called? Like
Exvius.
So there's
Is that it?
Exvius? Yeah.
I have-
Exvius is not 3D. Exvius is the one where you do like side scroll. It's like the free to play where there's side scroll battles And,
Oh no, not that one.
And you can like summon characters like with orbs. It's like an orb summoning. Mobius is the same. It's a free to play.
Yeah, it actually kind of looks cool though.
I've played it. It's a little bit. It looks pretty, but it's definitely clunky, and it is card based with your classes. And it's orb based.
If it was on console, I probably would try it at least. If
But
not,
it's a free to play, so that means that you're like
you can try it.
like you're drawing.
I'm never gonna try it.
You're like drawing for job classes. You need to like get better, like of the same class. Like
Why do they have to make it card based? There are very few card based things I've enjoyed.
But it doesn't matter because it's orb based. It's like you have to like you have like a stamina or whatever, and you like it's that.
Yeah.
Dimensions is a throwback Final Fantasy title. It's just like a.
Do you ever get to walk around the map? Okay, is that the one that you walk around the map?
Yeah.
Because there was one that I tried where you don't, and you just constantly go from battle to battle. I'm like, when do I get to walk around the map?
That's the same as Mobius.
Nice.
Yeah, Dimensions is not a remake of anything because the remakes on iOS are pretty terrible just because they make the graphics all gross looking.
I mean, besides that though, they're fine. They're just the graphics just look stupid.
Yeah. Dimensions, it has like a job class system. The catch is that it's not free to play. It's $20, or it used to be $20.
Oh, really?
You can play the first chapter for free.
The graphics are bad though.
Yeah,
they're really bad.
Yeah, but they are bad, but they're not based on anything else. So it's not like you're playing Final Fantasy VI that's been taken from its original graphics to worse. This is just how it is.
Who at Square Enix do you think decided, hey, we have some great old sprites. Instead of doing that, let's just come up with this weird, ugly looking, I guess, up-resed sprites. They just look bad, though. You see them and you're like, yeah, this looks like it was made by somebody in Unity in like an afternoon.
Right.
Like,
no, it looks terrible.
It's the novelty of having a mobile game, I think.
So, I hate mobile games.
So Dimensions is pretty good, though. It's pretty entertaining. You unlock job classes. There's a whole thing to it. You unlock them like as you go. There's secret classes. It's the whole it's like a whole Final Fantasy like retro experience. The only annoying thing is that there's no cloud saves. So when you change your device.
Oh, so if you're playing on like iPad or
because I used to play it on my iPod before I ever had an iPhone.
Yeah.
And then I got an iPad, and I was like, oh, I want to transfer my save, and you can't. So it's like.
Yeah, it's weird. Apple's normally really good about kind of enforcing people.
I think Square does it with every other, like I transferred my iOS Final Fantasy V, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Dimensions is pretty good.
That is the one, real quick side note, that's the one thing I don't like about the cross-buy games on PS4, PS Vita, is like you buy the game and say you want to play it at home and then you want to play it on the Vita, you have to first upload the games to a cloud, which I think you can only get access to if you pay for PSN Plus, and then you have to download the saves to the device. It's like, why? Just do the Xbox thing where every single save file you have is uploaded to the cloud. So if your Xbox gets broken or stolen or whatever, and you download the games, like all of your save files come with it now. Mm-hmm. So it's like you don't have to worry about like oh man, I'm gonna lose this save file. But anyways, anything else you want to talk about?
That's it.
Okay.
I mean, I know we already talked about. I finished Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Oh, you finished it.
I finished it.
Oh,
did we talk about that?
I don't remember.
No.
I don't know. I think you told me on the phone, but I don't think we talked about it here.
So I finished Mass Effect. I reached the point where I was
Game of the year.
Yeah, because there's so much, dude. And I reached the point where I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be stuck on this game forever if I don't just play through the rest of it. So I played through the rest of it, and it ended, and I did not feel an attachment to any of the characters. I was like, there's all this stuff happening. The dialogue, the villain was very bland, and the dialogue going on during that last fight was just not well thought out. And I did not feel anything. Like I could have. Like, the main characters could have all died, and I would have been, oh, that's fine, whatever.
Well, it's a Mass Effect. You don't play it for the story. It's just, it's really dumb. That reminds me of, like, how cool the first Mass Effect was when you fight Saren at the end of it. Mm. Like, oh, man. Do you guys remember that? Like, it's just, like, such a cool moment. And you're like, yeah, I've been chasing this guy across the galaxies, lost people.
With Rex in the first Mass Effect.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they have this whole story, too, with the Krogan. And it's
Rex.
It's not Rex, but it's just all these Krogans, and they just made the Krogans out to be just total, like whiny bitches about everything. Like it's.
I'm still excited to play it at some point when it drops low enough because I've heard they're patching the game to completion.
Yeah.
And they're gonna finish it at some point. So I think by the end of this year.
Wait, the game's not finished?
I've just heard they're adding like not just animations, they're adding story stuff and changing dialogue and doing like I'm curious
Like
what
the
Mass Effect
transgender character?
Andromeda will look like. Yeah, like they're changing like PC stuff, but they're also doing like story stuff, which I'm like, I don't know if Mass Effect Andromeda, just even story wise, is going to be the same at the end of this year as it is right now.
I mean, so it's basically just a focus group tested game.
Yeah,
They
pretty
had
much.
EA was probably saying, hey, you cannot make this into next fiscal year because we are not going to give you a budget for it. So your choice is to put it out now or everybody gets fired. My guess is
Yeah,
it's
but I'm
something
sure
along those
EA
lines.
also said like made them make it anyway, where it's like
Well, yeah. My guess is, though, like, you imagine if you were working on a project and you want to make this project as cool as you can, because I'm sure those people on it wanted to make it cool. You know, like, games, while people do make some money making them, it's not like the highest paid thing you could do with that when you're that smart, you know?
Right.
My guess is they wanted to make it cool, but the truth is, if you have somebody saying, like, it's due by this day, and you can't get it ready that time,
and
like,
it has to include this, and this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
I'm sure EA had like a giant list of like
if they could have cut
Assassin's
sure.
Creed that needed to have.
It's one of those things, like, you have people who are like, hey, hurry up and put this game out. And then you have the developers who are like, it's not ready to go out, but they have to meet the deadline. But the developers, not developers, but the publishers are still expecting it to have the quality that people are expecting. And it's almost impossible.
But then it also comes down to people.
Yeah.
Kind of
I mean,
bleed into games as art.
Yeah.
Discussion that we'll have with the Call of Duty stuff in a sec. But
Yes.
Yeah, but it's one last thing about that, and then I want to talk about the games I've been playing real quick. People have been whining a lot about Mass Effect. From what I understand, in any other year, if it would have come out, a lot of people would have accepted it as a great game. But it just came out after Zelda, and after Horizon, and after Neo, and after Witcher, and just after so many games that it feels like, well, if you would have released this at like Dragon Age Inquisition time, maybe people would have been more forgiving because there was just
The
less.
thing
newer
is,
games.
a lot of people who are whining about it have also gone out and picked it up on our platform.
Yeah, I mean, those are the people that are going to whine about it. The people who aren't
You're
are
going
never
to
going to
buy
say
it
anything.
regardless.
That's always how it is. And they're going to be the ones who get the game changed, even though the people will like some things about it. They'll be like, well, we hate this. And it's going to be like 10 people, you know? And it's like, nobody else cares, just these 10 people. Anyways, I've been playing a couple games, so I just want to discuss them real quick.
Wait, what games have you been playing?
Bam! I've been playing, do you guys know what Wonder Boy is? Dragon's Trap for Switch? Did you guys get to see pictures for that? So I picked that up last week because I just want to play something on Switch. Really cool old Master System game. I never had a Master System.
I remember buying Wonder Boy on the Virtual Console for Wii.
Oh, really? I've never played it before.
But I think the one is a remake of Wonder Boy 3, right?
yeah, Wonder
I
Boy
think
3.
I think they had Wonder Boy and Monster World on the Wii Virtual Console.
Yeah,
But I remember hearing about that because that band Dragon Force was really influenced by it.
I actually thought
Dragon
Tenacious
Force.
D might have written their song Wonder Boy about it, but I looked up and it's not. It just happens to share the same idea and lyrics too. But yeah, it's a cool game. It's definitely an old game, but it's like kind of cool to see they redid the art and it looks like amazing. It looks like one of the coolest games I've seen recently because it looks like hand drawn and all the images are great. It's not sprites. And it's fun. It's like the first ever Metroidvania type game. You go through and you keep unlocking rooms by upgrading your characters and doing all this other stuff. It's cool, but it has it's an old game. Super easy to die, like a little bit janky in spots where you'll fall and then you'll lose health. I don't even know how. It's not like Zelda where it's like, oh, a guy takes 1 health off or 2 health. It's like your heart system's weird. Like you can take quarters off your heart or a whole heart, and nothing's explained. And then
Wait. Quarter hearts, nothing's explained.
Yeah, so
Kingdom Hearts?
This
Or
is
not
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
No.
The heart system is very weird. It's
There we go.
unexplained.
This is a Kingdom Hearts offshoot. No, it's like Zelda. You have a certain amount of hearts that you can keep upgrading, but when an enemy attacks you, you will lose sometimes a quarter heart, sometimes a whole heart, sometimes 2 hearts, and you get armor, which I assume affects that, but I don't know how it works. My characters will just sometimes die really quickly, and sometimes they won't. And
Is it just based on enemy types, or?
I assume there's not like a lot explained. It's a very old game, so you can use the passwords too if you want to Google passwords.
Wait. You say it's a very old game and it's out on the. When is Nintendo Switch going to come out with something that's not old or old looking?
Damn you guys! It's a remaster, so it is.
I know,
It's like a
that's
brand
all,
new game.
That's all
Yeah, I
Nintendo
know.
Is it
Switch
only
is,
on
though. It's
Switch?
No.
remastered.
It's also on PS4 and I think soon on Xbox One. I think right now they just released on those two. But anyways, so I played that. It's cool. It's worth at least watching a video, checking it out. I've also like dabbled in a couple other things. I tried the Prey demo. Got really, really early on. It's really cool right now, but
What's the scare factor? Is it?
I mean, I'm like in the apartment. Like there's it's only an hour long. I don't think it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be like BioShock, like haunting but not scary.
I'm so sad about that game still.
What game?
Prey.
Oh, because you like the original. Yeah, the original's great, man. But you should try the demo for this one.
Hey,
It looks.
I think I'm not going to. I think I'm
Really?
gonna skip out on it. I'm not gonna knock it as a bad game.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be called Prey. It has nothing to do.
It doesn't have any
They just-
ties to the original.
But
Yeah.
but they own the license for the name, and like coming up with new names is like kind of a pain. So my assumption is they're like,
I
we own
liked
Prey.
the first Prey game. I loved it.
Yeah, I
And
know.
when
We've
saw
all
the-
played it here.
Yeah,
It's
I
all
saw
the
the
same.
video, the E3 video. Like I was like, oh, that's.
Oh, you're talking about the bounty hunting Prey
No,
2.
I mean,
which-
I liked the first one, but when I saw the trailer for the second one, I'm like, okay, I might be able to.
Dude,
get
in
on
the
board
end of the
with that.
first game sets you up for such a weird sequel because it's like
Yeah.
one, like how often do you play like legitimately consulted Native American like based games?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
And so that was awesome. And then also like the whole like the weird like it had portals before Portal
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, and then it's like pretty intense, but then also like the spirit bow thing, and then all the like Blue Oyster Cult music. It's like I mean that was like a unique experience, and I'm not saying that this new Prey won't be a good game, but it's not going to be like it's just going to be like.
It's going to be like BioShock.
Yeah.
I love BioShock.
I'm not
really,
saying that I don't love BioShock.
Yeah.
I really love BioShock.
No, I'm just saying I love it. So I'm going to play the demo and see the reviews. The only thing
But
I'm concerned
aesthetically speaking, it's going to be plain, in my opinion. It just looks
Okay.
plain. It just looks like space aliens. Like it's not like retro future like BioShock.
It
No,
reminds me
it's-
of
but
a
it's-
mix of BioShock and
Like what
Dead
is
Space.
what is unique about it
Well, I
aesthetically
mean,
speaking?
there's not a whole lot unique outside of like it's got by the guys who did Dishonored, and they
Yeah.
have a really cool way of like creating character designs, and like all their stuff is like kind of almost Pixar-esque, but more human-like looking. It's not like ultra realistic, but it's not like cell shaded or anything. I don't know how to explain it. It's got its own very unique style. And in Dishonored, they went for steampunk. And in this world, it's like futuristic setting. I don't know a whole lot, but I know that like the abilities that you get are really interesting. And the tie it has to the original Prey is solely aliens. Like when you're playing the game, from what I understand, is you have two paths you can choose essentially. That you can put points into. You put points into the alien skill tree or the human skill tree. And if the more and more alien you become, the more likely it is for like turrets that are going to kill aliens to start attacking you.
Do you know what this
So-
sounds like to me?
What?
Resistance.
Oh god, Resistance terrible. Please don't. bring it up.
Wait. Resistance 1 was good.
I did not like Resistance.
The sequels were all downhill.
Yeah,
but
like Sony's never, to me, they've never had a good first-person shooter. Their controller was never made for first-person shooting. I've never like enjoyed playing a first-person shooter on it. Resistance 2, I think that was the one that took place in the forest. Looked cool, but I never really got into it. I played the beta, which had like 50-player multiplayer. Anyways, so I played Prey. That was, I played some of it. It's a demo.
So was it enough to make you go back to it?
I mean, yeah, because I got to play about 10 minutes. I had to leave to come here.
So I'm not doubting that it's not going to be a well-designed, mechanical, fun game. I'm talking about like the uniqueness of the setting. Like Dishonored is a really unique setting. BioShock is a very unique setting. Prey 1 was a very unique setting. This does not look like a unique setting.
I don't know. Like, I can't speak to that yet because I'm like just at the very, very beginning. From the beginning, it reminds me of Deus Ex 2, which is one of my favorite games. I can't remember the Deus Ex. It was on the original Xbox. But anyways, so I played that. You guys should try the demo. I know you don't want to, but I think it could potentially be a great game. I want to wait to see reviews come out next week. I've also been still playing Persona 5, which if I keep playing it, I'll probably never be done with because it's 100 hours and
They
probably
said
10 hours in.
I was listening to someone talk about it on a podcast, and I said it took them 120 hours to play from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, you can finish it, I think, in 80 hours if you skip some stuff. For me, I don't even know how that's possible because I'm 14 hours in and the game is still pretty much like setting me on a rail. Like, hey, you do this thing. Guess what? You finished playing the dungeon today. Well, you go to bed right now, and then the next day you maybe get like one choice, like go to the library, and then like, oh, well, now you got to go to bed.
I hear that's a really aggravating part of the game is that they always make you go to bed.
So yeah, I like love the game. I'm even cool with it because they got rid of a lot of like the vocal tracks from Persona 4, which bugged me to death. Like J-pop with vocals in games, like.
While there's cutscenes with people talking.
Yeah, it's Xenoblade Chronicles X. But one thing I can't stand actually about the gameplay, I was like loving it, but the way the mechanics work, like you're hiding in the dungeons and then you can ambush people. Really simple hiding mechanics. When you press X, you ambush somebody. However, if there's two enemies next to each other, after you kill the first set of enemies, another enemy will spawn in, and that enemy will get to go first. Now, the game is really easy if you get attacked first because you find a weakness, knocks them down, and then you can do this big move that kills everyone. But if the enemy attacks first, a lot of them have instant kill moves, and if your main character dies, the whole game ends, and you're set back to whatever like safe room you were in before. The safe rooms are about 15 to 20 minutes apart, so I had 2 experiences where I lost about 40 minutes total of progress because I killed a guy, and the next guy comes in, he gets 2 attacks, kills my main character, game over, and stuff like that. If you're going to let somebody insta-kill, let the other players be playable. And when your main character dies, let them res them. Because all the rest of them get to come back after they die. So I don't know. It's an old JRPG trope that I don't like. I don't like the idea of like, we're going to kill you, we're going to send you back to the main save, but it's going to be total like, well, you got the guy who insta-kills. I don't know what you guys think about that. I don't know if you guys play any games.
I don't know.
Do you guys even play video games?
I don't know if you guys have ever played a game.
It seems strange. I mean, it does seem like whatever. I get the like, oh, it's so hard, and like you could die and get sent back. But I don't know.
Hard. It's not. That's
exactly.
the thing.
It's the thing. It's just
cheap
like
deaths.
It's just like random cheap deaths.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure that Persona like purists would be like, oh, that's just Persona, man.
I went on a lot of forums searching that. I'm like, is anybody else upset about this besides me? It's like, no, that's just how Persona is. You're the main character. If the main character dies and you have to restart, and people are like, well, why couldn't they restart you before the battle or something so you didn't have to redo all the stuff? No, then there wouldn't be any challenge. I'm like, well, then just make the enemies more challenging or something.
See, it's the thing. It's like challenge isn't challenge when it's based on randomness. Like, oh, you might get like
it's not even like Dark Souls where you get at least go recover stuff. It's like, nope, you lose that progress. You restart at the same.
Do you know
it's not challenging. It's tedious.
That reminds me of back in the old Final Fantasy games. You used to not be able to skip the cinematic. So if you were to die, you'd have to watch like 15 minutes of cinematic.
That's in Persona as well.
There's not any Final Fantasy game with 15 minutes of cinematic.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
you know what I mean.
Like, say you die before or right after. I think there's a battle in the opera scene. Say you were to die at that battle, you would have to. I mean, even though it's the coolest thing in the game, you would have to redo the opera scene. So, like, it's an old thing that we put up with when we were kids because there were less games. It was really cool. That now as we're adults, I want games to allow me to skip stuff or to, like if I've seen something once, let me skip it.
Yeah.
Just let me press a button and skip it. It's not. I get back in that day, they probably just didn't have the the resources. But anyways, there's some stuff we want to talk about soon. We're gonna take a real quick break and we'll get back right at you.
Right back at you.
If you're tired of sifting through flea markets for rare and unique games, we can help. Retro City Games in Henderson, Nevada, only 5 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, has all your favorite gaming staples, classics, and a wide selection of rare games with new stuff always appearing on our shelves. Come in and chat with Nicole or Doug about your love of games and watch as they help you complete your collection or find your childhood favorite. And don't forget, Retro City Games loves trade-ins. So if you have any Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, Xbox, PlayStation, or even PC games, come in and visit Retro City Games today. Welcome to the new metropolis of gaming, Retro City Games.
Bring. Oh, Gabe Newellson of Valve. Thank you. Yes, I would love to take control of Valve. I really appreciate that. And now I'll be the next billionaire right next to Minecraft guy. Oh, sorry, guys. Just got back. I was on the phone with
Yeah, no.
some important people.
Investments
Don't
are
wanna
important.
tell you who it was
Yeah.
with. So we got those. They noticed that we got all those views on iTunes and on YouTube and all the listens on iTunes. So
I guess Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is a thing.
you didn't know about that?
No, I mean that's this week, right?
No, that doesn't come out anytime soon.
No, I mean the announcement, right?
No, the announcement was PlayStation Experience.
Oh.
But yeah, it's on Xbox. Yeah,
What was the PlayStation Experience?
December. Every year they do this. It's like, I really wish Microsoft would do something like this because it does make it that 2 seasons Sony has almost like full control of. Like their E3 tends to go over really well because everybody loves them to death. But actually, my favorite thing is their PlayStation Experience in December where they announce all of the cool like indie games and all the stuff. Not the big titles, but all the games are coming and they'll announce them in like
Marvel
rapid
vs.
fire.
Capcom, the indie game.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's normally like they'll get like that's where they announce Street Fighter 5.
I just saw videos for it like this week pop up. New Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Yeah, I don't know why they put those videos up this week. I honestly don't know. I'm not a big
I heard
fighting.
it looks terrible from people that love fighting games.
Really, I don't like fighting games.
I don't know that I can't tell.
Yeah.
So
I'm not good at fighting games. I've never been good at fighting games. I bought Mortal Kombat versus what was
I used
that?
to love Mortal Kombat.
DC versus
Okay.
Mortal Kombat. Was that
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And I bought that thinking like, yeah, this is it, man. I'm gonna break into this genre and I'm gonna own it. And then I
see,
just
the problem is there's no fatalities in that game. The best part,
Babalities.
the best part of Mortal Kombat's not in that one game.
Oh,
I
Mortal
would love
Kombat.
to see Batman get exploded. You know.
I think they have something similar though in Injustice. In the Injustice series, which is also by the Mortal Kombat guys,
Yeah,
they have like superheroes kill each other, and it's not called fatalities, but it's like
I
some
don't think
type
there's
of
any
kill.
gore in that game.
No, but it's like a finisher move. But anyways, we're back. What did you hear from Microsoft? What's the scuttlebutt?
Yeah, so they're talking about the new Halo game, and
It's not called Halo 6. Don't tell me it's called Halo 6.
Whoa, spoilers, spoilers.
So
I
Halo,
know
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, the
J.J.
Chief
Abrams is
The
coming
last
on.
Master Chief.
the last Master Chief. I know we have some division on Halo 5, whether or not it's a good game.
Why, you liked it?
I didn't like it.
Oh, I do like it, yeah.
Okay, see, that's where we're divided.
Well, I mean, I thought it was fun. I played it with someone. Did you play it with someone?
No,
Okay, that's why you don't like it.
I mean,
You should have played with someone.
all right, well,
I should play Halo 4.
hindsight.
I will play that with you. Otherwise, I'll never. But you need to get the Master Chief Collection so I can finally play with someone.
Anyways, back on topic. They said, so Microsoft said they've been paying attention to fan feedback on Halo 5 and what they liked, what people didn't like. I guess a lot of people didn't like that it was too focused on Spartan Locke and his crew. You had like Buck, I think Nathan Fillion's character, and
All of our favorite characters.
all
Buck.
of our favorite characters, yeah. ODST, I liked ODST. Yeah.
Oh, he was in ODST,
He
wasn't
was
he?
in
Yeah, I
ODST.
did like
But
ODST.
They said that they've been listening to fan feedback and they were like, okay, we're going to make Halo 6 more about Master Chief because we didn't realize that he was that important to all you guys. And it's like, okay,
Nobody,
again,
why would you think that?
We've been
Nobody
playing
likes
that since Halo 1. This is like 15 years now we've been playing Halo games. And why would you not think that Master Chief, why in your designs for Halo 5, why would you not think that we wanted to be focused on Master Chief?
Yeah. Did you hear that they're re-adding split screen?
Yes, I heard
That's
about
cool.
that too.
Yeah, I'm happy that they're doing that.
Like multiplayer?
Yeah, so they took out split screen in Halo 5.
Like couch co-op.
And
Didn't they do that like 8 years ago, like everyone else in the
No,
world?
they took it out on Halo 5.
So Halo 4 has couch co-op?
Yeah, Halo
Yeah.
4 has couch co-op. Halo 5 does not. Because Halo 5 is like a beautiful looking game, to be fair. And
It is
my guess
beautiful
is
looking.
they didn't want to make it look ugly, which is
Well, these
whatever.
force people online like every company does.
Yeah. Well, I love it.
My biggest complaint with Halo 5 was not the fact that they were introducing new characters. It was the fact that the story bothered me a lot.
Oh, yeah, it's whatever.
That was the gameplay was fun. Like I loved everything about it except for the story, and that's really the main reason that I play Halo games is for the story. I'm one of those people.
I think Halo's a cool universe. I think it's got I like it.
It's cool. I would never play those games just for the story. I think the story is a cool side thing. The coolest thing is like the like the venues, the war places you're going.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it's all part of the story in some ways.
You know?
Like the world, the look, like the feel, the lore. Like it's good.
Halo is the only video game that I actually went out and I've read like 6 or 7 of the books that go alongside of it.
I read the Mass Effect books.
How
the
are
ones.
those?
They're great. They're written by the guy that created Mass Effect. So they're great.
Oh, those
They're-
doctors who are no longer there?
No. Okay, the doctors are the guys that founded BioWare, but Mass Effect, I believe, was created by Drew Caperson or something like that. However you say his name.
Okay.
He's the guy that left, I think, in the middle of Mass Effect 2, which is why everyone thinks Mass Effect story derails in 3. Not derails, because I think Mass Effect 3 is still a great game, but it changes from what it was supposed to be. Because there's like all this stuff, like all these like things they hint at and foreshadow in Mass Effect 1 and part of Mass Effect 2 about the Reapers and all that kind of stuff that eventually is dropped for the like child, like the like, you know, like the way that they handle it instead supposedly is a lot different than it was supposed to be based on the creator's intent.
So do the books offer you any like glimpse of what happened after the series?
Actually, the books go before because that guy left BioWare.
Oh, okay.
The books go, I believe, so Callie, if you remember, is what's the general's name? I haven't played him in so long.
I know what you're talking about. Anders?
Okay.
Anderson? No, Anders is Dragon Age.
Yeah, maybe it's Anderson. I know you're talking about blue suit, black dude,
Dark skin. Speaking of dark skin,
but so it talks about Callie, who makes an appearance in Mass Effect. It's like her story and Anderson's story when he was young.
Okay, because Anderson was a Spectre too, wasn't he?
I believe so. Yeah.
He was the first, wasn't he like the first human that's part of the council or something like that? Isn't that like a big deal too?
Yeah.
Because they originally no humans were allowed to be part of the council, I think.
Anyway, they're pretty damn good. Okay. Like that guy left BioWare to focus on novel writing. I think he also wrote he's written some Star Wars novels that are pretty popular as well.
What I'd like to do is read a brand new novel by him. Because I have a hard time getting into game lore like outside of games.
See, I actually don't, because it adds to like it's the same thing with being really familiar with the tabletop setting of Numenera and then playing Torment. It makes it that much better.
I guess the only thing I find is some people, because maybe not everyone and maybe some people handle it differently, if they read too much of the outside lore and then they get to the game and the game has not followed those books correctly, you know, like then they get really angry, you know.
Well, when does that happen?
I think Halo was an example, right?
I mean, Halo,
like
the books for Halo were written after the game came out. So you have like all these prequel books that lead up to it and like the story of how...
So does it align with Reach then?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, and the story of how...
Yeah, it seems like that would be a really huge oversight to release for a company to like source novels and then have them not work with the lore. I've never heard of that.
Okay, so I don't know. I feel like I've read on forums somebody being like, well, in this novel they say it's this, and in this thing they say it's that.
They did take some royalties with liberties, sorry,
and royalties.
Liberties.
They got them.
With Halo Reach when that game came out. They did they did tweak it just a tiny bit, but it's not like super noticeable unless you're a super nerd like me. So
okay, well, yeah, I don't know anything about the lore besides the main Halo that I remember the story from is Halo 1. Like that is the strongest story of my memory. I mean, I played through the game a dozen times, and to me, it's the best, the most concise.
Yeah.
Just like I feel the same about Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2. I didn't beat Mass Effect 3, so I can't speak to it. But I feel like the single stories, and that's why I always like Final Fantasy, where they just stay on one story, is the best way to go. Because it's the easiest way to just keep a narrow, focused, like, hey, we're going to end it. When you get in this trilogy nonsense is when it starts being like, well, you got to make sure they all work, and and the second one's always like a throwaway story. But
it's different when when it's stories away, like it just fleshes out the universe types of stories. You're talking about the main narrative.
Yeah, I'm talking about the main narrative. I'm not talking about lore like book lore.
Yeah, so that's like that's what I think can be pretty interesting if the world is compelling. Like
wasn't The Witcher based off a series?
Yeah, it's based off of The Witcher books.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? I don't think we ever talked about this, but the writer of that book, he sold the license to make the games instead of like they were offering him little money with like royalties from the game. He's like, no, I don't want that. So he sold, and I guess he's like, if I would have taken that like contract, I would have made so much money now. But he hated games, so he never wanted to make. He never wanted to like.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Hindsight.
Well, I mean, it's just that happens to a lot of people. A lot of people look at games like, this is stupid. Why would I ever do that? And they sell the license sort of thing for like a quick cash in.
So you should never underestimate what gamers like and don't like.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I honestly think when you make a cool property, better than cashing out always is keep the licenses. That's why George Lucas makes so much money.
You know,
because he has all the licenses for all the
Spielberg
toys.
actually owns 2% of the Star Wars franchise, and it's made him like millions of dollars.
It doesn't surprise me. Spielberg probably, because he also owns probably... Well, no. I wonder if the Arthur Conan Doyle still owns Jurassic Park or whatever.
Michael Crichton.
Michael Crichton. Sorry.
Arthur Conan Doyle
Lost World.
is Conan.
And
Isn't he
Sherlock Holmes.
Lost World too?
Wait, no. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
I think you're right about Conan, but I think he's also the Lost World, which is another series that they're trying to make. Anyways, I wonder if that guy, Michael Crichton, sold the book rights like out and out to the films, or if he has royalties from it.
I wonder, because he's
so
dead.
much
Like
money.
he's dead now, but
It would be his family that would get the estate, you know.
Because I know that there's a company that in Sweden that I was reading about. They take properties like old book properties and they buy them so that people have to pay for them if you want them. Like, it's stupid how if you don't sign the right paperwork and you die, your creative properties just go up to public commons or whatever it is.
Yeah, isn't it 75 years after death though, or?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Not Conan. You're right. The Lost World.
Yeah.
Sherlock. It's Arthur.
Sherlock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, as soon as I said Arthur Conan Doyle, like, no, he didn't name his own series after his middle name.
Conan was Edgar Rice. No, Sir Robert something.
Burrow? No, Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote
Tarzan.
John Carter of Mars, and then Robert E. Howard wrote Conan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, more you know. Anyways, about sales, because we were talking about numbers, some cool Nintendo Switch news.
Uh-oh.
They sold a lot of them. They sold 2.4 million copies, I should say, 2.4 million hardware models out to the public. Funny news, they actually sold more copies of Zelda Breath of the Wild than they sold Nintendo Switches.
How does that work?
Well, it's on the Wii U, isn't it?
No, they sold, they actually sold more Zelda Breath of the Wild for Nintendo Switch than they sold Nintendo Switch.
You know why? Because there's probably people like me, and I didn't do this, but I thought about doing
Amazon Prime.
buying either Amazon Prime or like the special editions, even though I had no intention of getting a Switch in the near future.
Okay.
You know, Nintendo's games also don't drop in value or price very often. So, like, if you get the Prime deal, you still get it for $12 off, which is probably the best you're going to see for at least a year or two. You know,
pick it up.
Yeah. So, that console's still hard to find. I guess it's in stock this week
Do you
with
think
Mario
that
Kart.
Nintendo is doing this on purpose?
Yeah, everyone does.
Probably, yeah, for sure.
I remember when I was 13 and not knowing anything about the world or business, and PlayStation 2 came out and it kept selling out. People were waiting online, and you felt like they're going to sell out and you're never going to be able to get one ever.
Yeah. No, it is forced
Why,
scarcity.
It's been out for a couple months now. Why not just let people buy it? Like, if you want to make money, who cares about building up a demand for it?
Well, there's two things. One, I think forced scarcity makes people want it, right?
Yeah.
If you can't have something like, okay, I went to they still were selling NES Classics at Best Buy this week.
Yeah.
I went by that Best Buy. There was 60 people in line. I rolled down my window. I was like, hey, did you guys already get tickets? And they're like, no, but they only have 20 of these in stock.
Oh, jeez.
So 20 NES Classics, 60 people in line. Why were the extra 40 people waiting in line? They couldn't get the
Hoping they
so
had extras.
so forced scarcity is good, but another thing is too, I think Nintendo always doesn't want to spend more money than they have to. So I think they didn't make that many. It takes a while to put them together. It doesn't take forever, but still takes a little bit of time. You got to get all the stuff. Have to have somebody test it.
This is the thing that bothers me though. Like, when the Xbox One came out, it took maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and you could, if you were lucky, like, you can just walk into a store and pick one up. Like,
Yeah, you could find the Xbox One day one, man.
yeah,
pretty
and I
quickly.
would much rather like if I didn't own an Xbox One, I would much rather own an Xbox One than a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it just, the difference is, like, this is the first console that's also a portable, so you're getting essentially two markets, because Nintendo's portables have always done really well. Even though the Wii U
Two
is...
markets and no games.
Yeah. We are hoping...
We're gonna give you Legend
But
of
see,
Zelda.
all of Nintendo's last 3 consoles have been the first time this, and this.
Yeah.
And no games. Like,
Yeah,
the Wii, the first motion control,
no,
the Wii U, the first, like, game where you can, like, switch between the screen and the portable. You
Yeah.
just can't take it on the go. It's like...
The thing is, this is the marriage between those two with the 3DS, but you are right, they didn't have lots of games. However, the Nintendo first-party stuff, like, I owned a Wii U, which I never got into, but, I mean, did have a great lineup of games. But the Nintendo Wii, man, like I felt like I got my money's worth. Sure, didn't have a lot of great games, but
I'm not saying that I don't, because I own all of those. I still own a Wii U. I will eventually get a Switch. I'm not saying that it's not an issue of money's worth for me.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the idea of marrying a console and portable market, but not having a lot of games is.
Well, it's just right now. We're hoping.
But if it's gonna be another like solely relying on Nintendo first party, like.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that and indies. I mean, I'm okay if it's just the two of them. If it's that, but Stardock CEO, I can't remember what they make, but they're like they said we're not going to.
They make
Payday. No, that's
Stardock made that one. Keep going.
But anyways, they talked about how the Nintendo Switch they're not going to support it, but they said this. It's like for $300. You're getting like a great amount of Nintendo product, which is always great. So it's definitely worth the thing. If it was $1,000. Then it would be a way different thing. But in the end, he's kind of right. This will hopefully, Nintendo is not doing a good job of it right now, but this will hopefully replace the 3DS, which had amazing games, like really, really amazing games, like probably the best Nintendo console or Nintendo like piece of hardware they've had for a while, and get the Nintendo console games.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you get both of those, I think it'd be worth it.
Stardock's only PC games.
Okay, but anyways, because a lot of people have been talking about, hey, we want to support it. The hardest things for me to understand is like Nintendo Switch or Nintendo as a company is also like, you guys know Axiom Verge? You guys know the indie game? It's like a Metroid-like game.
Yeah, heard of it.
The creator of that said that they have they're ready to release it on Switch whenever. It's already done. They've already done the porting. Nintendo won't let them.
Why?
They said that Nintendo only wants games that have not been ported or have Switch-specific stuff, which isn't true.
Isn't most of what they have ports?
Yeah. It's so, like I said, a lot of people think Nintendo's doing exactly what they've always done, which is like treat indie developers poorly. So I'm hoping that they start getting it together and start saying, hey, release some. Because I would rebuy tons of stuff. I'd rebuy Hyper Light Drifter. I'd buy Undertale. I'd buy like all these games if they just let them go onto the console.
Okay.
Yeah, having to have like Switch specific, it's the same problem with the Wii U. Like having to.
You had that stupid handheld screen, and they don't need it this time because they actually already. I mean, it's just a normal thing with the controller. Like they don't need it. It's not like, oh, you need to make gamepad specific. It's like, no, nobody wants to do that. That's so much extra work and so many extra resources. Just let people release their stuff so people can buy it. Anyways, Donna, there was some news from your favorite game that came out this last week. Your favorite game, first-person shooter.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, your favorite thing. We want to
talk.
talk.
The only thing I ever played.
Yeah, it's Don over here is.
It's got everything that I want in games. It's got story. It's got characters. It's got
a great
music.
A great multiplayer community.
You pretty much just play Call of Duty till the next Call of Duty, right? Only game.
Yeah, pretty much.
So walk us through what the new announcement was this week.
I didn't bother to read it all the way because I don't care. I care so much that I already knew. It's World War II.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's going to continue the trend of trying to be as Hollywood as possible while also being really competitive. I'm sure there'll be cheesy Hans Zimmer style music, which is already bad.
And Josh Delamo.
Yeah.
The guy from Transformers. How do you pronounce his name? Josh Delamo?
What? Who?
The guy from Transformers, the white dude. I can't remember.
Oh, Josh DeHolm?
Yeah, is that how you say his name?
I think so. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about the guy who's like the army sergeant?
Yeah, Josh Delamo.
Oh, that guy's terrible. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, it's gonna inspire me to create artistically and to just.
Okay, so this is something.
I don't actually know any news about it.
Okay,
I know it exists. I know
since I watched the video and I'll give a quick rundown, and then we were talking a little bit about some stuff off camera. It's World War II, obviously. They've got a really great trailer, all in game stuff. So obviously, again, it's a huge franchise. They have some of the best graphics around. Looks really cool. It is definitely the traditional World War II. They go to Normandy. They, oh man, this guy's a private, and now he's changed by the war. It's got the zombie stuff from the more recent Call of Duties, and it's going to have the popular multiplayer. I think it's a response to Battlefield 1 being successful because everybody was not super excited about Infinite Warfare or Infinite.
Yeah, Call of Duty Halo.
Yeah, Call of Duty Halo.
Okay.
But anyways, there's been kind of two things we were discussing something off camera, but I also want to bring up this. Polygon was actually responding to the fact that in the trailer there was an African American soldier and a child and they were talking about how they were thrown in there for just kind of like to, check box and put this. And
do you know what Polygon reminds me of? They remind me of the school nurse, how she would take a comb and look through your hair for lice, like carefully pulling off.
find anything wrong.
Polygon does that same thing, but with racism.
Well, they do the same thing with anything that social issues. They do that. But the thing that it brought up was, I think that it's unfair to demand that what I call art, because games, in my view, even if they're not like artistic, they are still made up of art assets, music, like programming, which is, kind of an art in itself, like writing. They have stories. So all games to me are art in some way. They may not be like, this may be factory churned art, but it's still...
Yeah, it's definitely levels of artistic.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that in a sec.
But I just think Polygon was pressing on something that I think is unfair nowadays, where if like you're an artist and you want to create a story and say you want it to be about 4 males who take a road trip to go find all their swords and then go, take back their hometown, I think you should be allowed to do that without every single person on the internet coming down on you because it wasn't 2 guys and 2 girls, or a guy and a transgender and a girl.
Was there a controversy in
Final Fantasy?
It was
a big controversy.
It was pretty mild because I think I think Western developers tend to get more flack on this kind of
Japanese
stuff because at the end of the day, like, Japan is a different culture, and they're not gonna respond to like.
They still have like KKK in their game.
Yeah,
like,
they're not gonna. Well, but apparently I read that. Apparently it didn't mean the same thing.
No, it doesn't. But it's just funny, like that. It was a big deal for this guy. He didn't want changed. And I'm like,
well, that was hilarious. That's
like the dumbest thing. Like to make a stance on like, oh, they changed it from KKK to NKK. That's censorship.
No, I think it's like really.
Oh my god, man! Just whatever. Just release
he almost
it.
like quit his job or something. For it. Anyway, different thing.
Okay, yeah,
totally different thing. But yeah, I think Japan, they just don't care about what like video game blog writers based in New York like think about like representation and diversity. So I think the controversy with 15 being a male cast like didn't really matter. And like how it would have been. It's a game about bros road tripping. Like how bad would it have been if they had like changed one of them to a girl? It would have made no sense.
It just seems like there are better things to waste.
Like breath complaining about?
Yeah.
I think it's, it gets clicks. Like I clicked on the Polygon thing, and that's why they do it, is because it's like, hey, somebody's going to click about this, and then it's going to spark debate like we're talking about
now.
But
at the same time, like, it's the same thing where it's like people, for the sake of like representation and diversity, like there's a lot of pressure, at least like implied pressure to do things a certain way, but then I think it can be compromising because you can be BioWare where no matter what they do, they can't get a break, and part of it's because they do it poorly. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we know that it's like.
I think the difference with BioWare is that they intended to approach those issues, though, whereas like
they intend to approach the issues, but then they don't do it well. Yeah. It's like.
It would have been like if Prey didn't consult Native Americans and then they appropriated the culture. Yeah. Kind of like a good example would be, and this company got flack for it, which I kind of think is unfair because they're from like Sweden or Norway, but Horizon Zero Dawn. Mm-hmm. They appropriated native or tribal type stuff that people thought was similar to Native American culture, but they thought was handled poorly.
Okay, but let me ask you this. How many gamers sat there and they're like, this really bothers me?
Most people don't. It's just like 3 people probably on the internet and like a handful
it's definitely like an unwarranted pressure on creativity in some ways. Yeah.
I think it's unfair. Like I think what Prey did was extra above and beyond by consulting someone. Yeah. But I think by like using that stuff with like say you're in Sweden, Norway, and it's really hard to go consult someone, and I mean they probably could Skype them or whatever, but they didn't. But all they did was take like ideas from the past. I still don't think they deserve to be like reamed over coals, which I heard on lots of podcasts, people were like, well, they used Native American cultural stuff, and this is unfair, and blah, blah, blah.
It's funny because those people
like,
probably...
With robots, in the future.
That's what I was going to say. Those people still probably went out and played the game. Like, they bought it. They probably liked it.
Well, they're reviewers and stuff. I mean, I just think it's unfair to judge someone's art so harshly when you don't make art
Okay,
your own.
The problem is then what can you create even?
Yeah, you
Because
can't
it's
create
like-
anything because everything.
This is where like video game journalism and like honest reviews have just fallen apart because we're no longer reviewing games based on how good they are, what the game type is, or how the gameplay is, how's the soundtrack, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. We're now reviewing games based on social issues, and it's
Right,
like,
we're reviewing games set in fantasy worlds based on how they are similar or not similar to real life.
yeah, exactly.
Cultures.
That exact thing actually happened. A reviewer that I actually really like because he is pro Microsoft, which is very rare nowadays, reviewed The Witcher 3, and he was upset by the lack of diversity in The Witcher 3, which is essentially set in a medieval fantasy version of Poland. Which, like, to me, and I think there actually are a couple people of color even in that game, but it was crazy to me to think that somebody would be so offended by something when it's like a created fantasy world in a place that probably wasn't very diverse back at that times,
Yeah.
like, and then dock it 2 points for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, or maybe not 2 points, but it got 8, and I just think like it's a pretty great game. But I mean, whatever. I just think it's unfair to judge things.
I think there's two ways to look at that.
Yeah.
Perhaps there's probably millions of ways to look at that.
Yeah. I mean, we're all just
but like 2 points would be like, okay, if you're creating an entirely fictional world,
Yeah.
especially if you are a like massive publisher,
Yeah.
and it's totally fantasy, totally science fiction, I think you probably should include different like looks and colors and things like that, simply because it's going to be played by a wide audience. And if it has nothing, if it's not based on Earth and doesn't need to include Earth's politics or social issues, then you're pretty much free. I think you're pretty much free to do so.
Yeah.
So it's crazy because is Horizon Zero Dawn based on Earth at all?
It is. Yeah, it is based on Earth. Like, I don't know how far in the future, I didn't get played, but it sounds like at least multiple hundreds of years in the future.
But if you live in a world that is dominated by nature and civilization is scant, like that's what tribal like civilization is. Like, so it seems crazy that they would be criticized for that. Now, if you were like making a game that was based on like Poland or like the south of France in like some period of time, and you were getting reamed for it not being diverse enough, like that's insanity because that doesn't make any sense.
I just think
Although to be fair, I don't know enough about the south of France. Maybe it's a hotbed for diversity, and I'm totally unaware.
I mean, the truth comes down to this. Like, I think if you're making a property and it's an art thing, and I think it should be up to the artist. Yeah, hopefully that artist would want to include people, like want to be inclusive.
Yeah.
And then if they're not, then people don't have to play or buy their products. To hate them.
But if they want to be inclusive, it either needs to be like unimportant or totally fleshed out.
Definitely.
Because if it's a world that's not Earth, then you don't need to like if you're gonna have like people of color or people of not color, if you're gonna have people that are pink or whatever, then it just kind of has to be that way. And then, but if you're writing something that's based on like Earth culture and like you have to include, then you have to be sensitive. That's why it's like, like BioWare with like their whole like transgendered character. It's like, okay, like we're including that, but I mean, who wrote it? Right.
Did you guys get to watch the new Beauty and the Beast film? Sorry, I'm diverging on it.
Yeah,
they did inclusivity in a way that I thought was fine. They just switched out a couple characters, and I mean, it did seem a little strange since it's supposed to take place in like France a long, long time ago.
Are you talking about the Gaston's buddy?
Oh no, well not him. The bookkeeper who was originally like an old white man is now like a young black man.
I didn't even notice.
No, I mean it's just like I've seen the original Beauty and the Beast a lot of times. They changed some characters. In the end, it wasn't didn't affect me, and hopefully it made somebody else feel like, hey, they're being like inclusive. And I think that was a fine way to do it. They didn't make it a big point, so they didn't need to flesh someone out.
Yeah.
They literally just changed a person.
Yeah.
And that was that. It didn't hurt anybody,
Do you think that would help that type of thing go over smoother with people if they didn't make a huge fuss out of it?
Maybe. I don't know. I think some people want to make a fuss,
it depends, though, because, like, culturally speaking, like if you were going to make a game set in the modern day, and you were going to have all sorts of diverse people, but there was no distinction between them, I think people would be upset. Like I think that's like that's the same thing with like the trans character in Mass Effect, even though it has nothing to do with reality. But it's written poorly. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's written in a way that not only highlights what that character is, but it highlights it poorly. So it's like
funny because with an issue like that, how do you?
That's the funny thing. It was written poorly, but as I think about it now, I'm like, well, this person would probably never mention their past. That I guess what they could have done is put it in a codex entry somewhere. But even then, you're like, but it's at a weird point where it's like you're just gonna get flack from stuff regardless, and I think that, it's still good to like talk about the stuff. Even the Polygon articles, as much as I don't always agree with them, let them talk about stuff, even let them review stuff poorly if they want, because in the end it doesn't matter. I just think it's dumb.
I see two big problems. One has to do with games as art, and then one has to do with representation, which are related issues but separate issues. Because on the one hand, what you want, it's like when I think about, like, if I think about having like kids or something one day, having daughters or something like that. Like I like a game like Final Fantasy VI where there's a main character who is a female.
Or 13. Lightning.
And actually in both cases this time, main characters who are female who don't rely on a love story trope to find some type of meaning. Like, spoiler alert, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VI, like,
everybody dies.
Right. But Terra, instead of falling in love with someone, becomes like the head of an orphanage, basically. Like, she's super badass. And then Lightning,
never really needed a man. At least as far as I got.
That's it's like, right? you want to see that, where it's like, and so it's I can imagine it's the same thing for people like of color, for people of different diversities. Like, they want to see themselves, they want to be able to play things that represent them in games. And I think that's extremely important. So then the next thing is, like, games as art. Like, people need to be able to execute their visions without having to be
worried about this.
If someone with like a vision, like a terrible vision for a product, who just happens to be like a really like misogynistic or a racist person or something like that, like, people are going to find out and people are going to not support it. It's going to get like flagged for what it is. But if someone who is like, like an open-minded, not like trying to be exclusive, just has a certain vision for something, like, they shouldn't feel like they have to compromise their vision by making inclusions for things. Because that's the thing, I don't know, it's probably not this way obviously with BioWare, but it's like, that's like a complicated thing where they're like, okay, well, we need to include this type of character. How do we write it? How do we like, it's like a crazy thing.
And it's hard too, because it's like, you could do the BioWare or some other games where they just allow you to create the main character, and then that gives you tons of options. You're essentially, but say you want to make a game that's story driven like Final Fantasy 15, where the main character is Noctis. If they would have just allow you to choose between male and female, the whole game might have had to be, kind of different.
Altered. You would have had two different versions.
Unless they just wanted to be very insensitive, then so it's like, they wanted to make that story. So, like, I don't see the people, and this could be, again, a Japanese thing, but I don't see people attacking, like, Attack on Titan, a Japanese anime about all white people in a city. Like, I don't see, like, tons of stories all day about, like, man, there's not enough Asian people, or no, there's not enough black people or women. There are some women, but I mean, it's just, I don't see that being attacked. But I see games nonstop, like a new story about how games aren't inclusive almost every week. Like, it's getting to the point where I feel like maybe everyone's a little bit too sensitive.
Maybe, yes and no. So I think that there's something different with interactivity, which games are. Because it's the same reason that they're, like, for toys, like for dolls, there's like, you can't just have white Barbie. Because what does that do to, like, a child's mind developing, where the only toys they can play with and develop, like, connections to don't represent them? So it's different with interaction than just watching something, I think. So games are the same way. Like,
but to be fair though, to change Barbie is a lot easier than to change a game. Barbie has no story. You literally just do, like,
goes into that.
It's hard because, like, when you're making a game, you need to have that vision. Just like, we do music, and when you make an album, you need to have, like, a vision, or else you're just going to make terrible work. You have to have vision. If you don't have it, then you're going to make probably not, and then this is another game I still think is art, but not great art, a Call of Duty, where it's not really a vision. It's just like, here's the story, here's the setting, do the same thing you always do.
Right.
Here's the boxes you fill in. You know,
Yeah.
let the cool story still exist.
Back to the root of this problem, expecting like diversity and like a nice diverse story from a Call of Duty game is just not something that.
Yeah, that to me is true.
That's the stupidest part about this whole thing.
It's probably a slow news week.
Yeah.
That's why.
Because this is the same guy that wrote that article about Colin Moriarty.
Oh yeah, this
Yeah.
is Own Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That Colin Moriarty story. What was it again exactly?
About how he was.
His text or his tweet, right? It was
How he was like sexist and how it's people like him that make it so his daughters are afraid to play video games. And
you remember that, right? The tweet they said
I
where he
remember
dated
that
a
bit,
woman.
but makes his daughters afraid to play video games.
Yeah,
it's like,
because
because of people like that, my daughters can't grow up to play video games or be strong and confident. And it's like, you just really need to pick and choose your battles a little better.
I honestly think a lot of it has to do with like clicks and likes and the idea of like the game industry. I mean, we're talking about this and we do this. A lot of us do this for fun and we love to do this.
Yeah.
But like it as a whole is trying to survive in a world where like people don't want advertisements and that's how they get a lot of their revenue. Physical media is pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So people don't like want that at all. So how are we going to keep people coming to us when we've got Kotakus, which have like Jason Schreier, who is always breaking the news story first? Like, what are you going to talk about that's going to get someone to read? So
I think
about controversial subjects.
I think there's also just a spirit of that though in the media in general, like being aggressively against anyone that's not totally inclusive in the ways that you want them to be.
Yeah.
So it's like there's that. We're like excluding exclusive people, or like if we're not being inclusive enough, and it's like that. It's backwards, but that won't ever change until that trend dies out.
Yeah.
But speaking of both a bit of a cleaner topic and also Jason Schreier, he posted a thing from Bungie about Bungie this week about how like a reminder that Bungie is not the same company that it used to be.
It's about Destiny, I believe, right?
And this because the people don't like. There's like some guy made an article or list of like all the developers that were there for like Halo 2 who are there now, and it's like hardly anyone. And I think he worded a super great point, and I saw some really hilariously like poor thought out comments about like, oh, like you're knocking the developer now, which he wasn't. But he makes a really good point. Something that I've thought for years is speaking of games as an art form. Yeah. Like people can't expect. We associate game and franchises and even the artistic side of things with companies and corporations instead of people, even though art is very much made by people. Yeah, definitely. And it's like the same reason. So the reason that Final Fantasy doesn't feel like old Final Fantasies is because the guy that invented Final Fantasy and the people that worked on those old Final Fantasies don't work at that company anymore. Yeah. Like, and that doesn't mean that new Final Fantasy is intrinsically bad, because I think specifically with a franchise like Final Fantasy, it's made to be different every time with certain similar things. But there's a lot of room for interpretation. That's why I think 13 is not that bad. I do think that 13.2 is awful, but that's why I think 15 is pretty great, because it is that. It's like the whole concept of Final Fantasy is ever evolving, but it's not going to feel the same way. And that's why
like Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. Mass Effect Andromeda is the same thing. And that's why when I always cringe when I read like IGN comments where it's like, Square, please just make a new Chrono Trigger game. It'll make so much money. It's like, you really want that? No one that made Chrono Trigger possible is at Square. There, It would be awful. It would be like a focus group.
I want to believe though.
See, that's the thing. That would be like Capitol Records making a new Beatles record, because that was the company that put out all the Beatles music.
Yeah. This is an off example,
or a
but
group called Beatles. That is
well, that's what I'm saying though. They could do it, but it wouldn't be the same. That's
it's like
the thing.
Paul McCartney and three other randos.
Yeah, like
we're the Beatles.
Aesthetics, story ticks, like character designs.
Off example, Roland Emmerich. Everyone kept saying for years and years, make a sequel to Independence Day. Make a sequel to Independence Day. Wow. And look what happened when he made one.
That also comes down to not only are people important, but like I was mentioning earlier, like the vision, the idea, it has to be there too. Like art is not something that you can churn out like you can do, math problems or something. It's not something where it's just like, this is the formula, you do it, it comes out this way.
Yeah.
I think that's a big problem with Square now, is besides like spending way too much time chasing the like phone market and the Final Fantasy Legacy market and all that kind of BS.
Which
like,
I'm okay with them putting those games on everything as long as
they don't
they're
spend
original.
enough time like just like developing like a new identity with the staff that they have.
Yeah.
Like the only guy that tries to do anything that's unique to himself is the Kingdom Hearts guy, and it's always so batshit crazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, the cool guy from I think his name's Yoko Taro.
Oh, Neil,
he does interesting stuff.
right? And people, I noticed at least some journalists like correctly go like, his game. It's like the same way like Kojima has like an identity attached to his games. You know, it's like that's important. Like Sakaguchi, the Final Fantasy dude, has like an identity at Mistwalker, his new company. Those games, there's a definitely like a similar feeling to them than compared to old Final Fantasies. They're not the same, but there's something similar, and it's because it's made by that guy. Like
and
it's like
got to have that director. So games are made by multiple people. We don't want to just say, oh, Yoko Taro made this game or blah blah blah. But that person normally has the vision, which has then carried out by all the people that do that, and they will affect the game slightly. But realistically, like all boats, like it needs to have one captain. Like if it's got, that's why I think I feel bad for the people who a lot of people work on games because their names are never like said like, oh, he's so, there's thousands of people work on a game. But in a lot of ways, the director, just like for a film, is so important because you can't have like 1,000 people making any game they want at the same time and then put it together and make the game. Yeah. So I wanted to diverge and talk about that for just 1 second real quick. Just because I feel like we talk about those names like Kojima, and nobody really ever thinks like, oh man, he's got a team. But yeah, he is more the most important part of the vision, but he's still got a team of people that he's steering and directing into the thing. So like even if you got the Chrono Trigger team, the main thing you need is the primary creative director,
and then for that writer too for Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, that game. Well, okay, so that game there are 4. Well, the director would hopefully be like somebody who knows all parts, but that game you need a lot because the music's so important, the art style's so important, the writing's so important that like you at least need 4 people.
I think games and movies are like this one. It's crazy, like these crazy forms of art where people expect like a certain level of like excellence from different people, just the same franchise name. Yeah, it's like. Like it would be like if someone else wrote other Game of Thrones novels that weren't George R. R. Martin. Like no one would buy it. Like I mean, they would buy it literally, but no one would like believe it in a sense. Where it's like, and so you can't expect the same. Like you can't expect like Mass Effect to feel anything like the original Mass Effect when no one's there. Yeah, no one's there that can make that happen. It's not even because they're not good. It's because it's impossible to be the same as someone else. Like to be the same, like to have the same like direction and then have the same group mind that made Mass Effect 1 when it's a totally different group of people. They could make something good, but they'd have to find their own identity to do so. Yeah.
It's just an interesting topic. We could probably talk about this for hours because it's so vast and like there's so much to speak about when you talk about creation and art. But we should probably save that for next week and come back ripping and roaring with hopefully some new games to play. I'm gonna get me some Mario Kart this week because I never really played 8. I know you did. Did you beat it?
I played a ton of Mario Kart.
I'm excited to finally play it. It comes out tomorrow.
I'm very excited.
Whenever you listen to this. So whenever you listen to this, it comes out tomorrow.
You can now download us on iTunes.
You can't find us though; it's hidden, and we're never gonna say the name. And if you try to put it on the screen, then I'll delete it.
Censorship. You got that, YouTube? This is your thing.
Badoosh!
All right.
Oh yeah.
That's to us people that can feel things. It hurts.